Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. We appreciate you taking time out of your day to hang out with us for a little while today. We're going to start this webinar at a couple of minutes after the hour. We have a lot of folks signed on, so bear with us. We'll get started at about 2 to 3 minutes after the hour. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks to everyone rolling on in. We appreciate you guys. Just bear with us. We're going to get started in just a couple minutes. In the meantime, you have this beautiful blue introductory slide to look at. We're getting a lot of shout outs from people across the country. Hi to South Carolina, hi to Vegas. And let's do it. Let's get started. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We are the ArcServe team, and we are here to talk to you about a new solution called ArcServe SaaS Backup. We're going to do a couple of things before we get into that. Sean, if you want to pop it to the next slide, we're going to have a little fun. We're going to have some housekeeping. My name's Janine Edwards. I am I run America's marketing here at ArcServe, and I'm joined by my pal Sean Massey, who is our Vice President of Sales Engineering. Hello, Sean. Thank you so much for joining me. I always love having you.
Great to be here.
Sean does a lot of great things. He demos the product beautifully. He's going to give you a sneak peek of the product, and he keeps me honest on any technical things that are talked about, helps me answer all the great questions that come in. We're also giving away today an Oculus Meta 2. So that is a fun thing to have. It would give me seizures, but from what I understand, people love it. And the way that's going to work is you're going to put on your listening ears, and we're going to answer a question. I mean, we're going to ask a question at the end of the session. So you do have to hang out with us for the entire thing to get the fun prize. And we're going to ask you a pretty tough question based on some of the knowledge that we drop on you this afternoon. And you're going to have a chance to answer that question the most quickly. And the first one to do it correctly is going to win this particular fun prize. Now, I also have a second prize winner. I don't always advertise. The second prize winner also gets a $100 Amazon card. So everybody take some notes, get ready to go, and let's have a little fun. Should we, Sean?
Absolutely.
So some of you may be familiar with ArcServe, but as a quick level set, we are a data resilience platform. And when we talk about data resilience, that's really an up-level term from simply the checkboxes of data protection or even, the next level of business continuity. And what we mean by data resilience and why we merged with a complementary vendor last year called StorageCraft was to create the largest footprint, if you will, of data resilience solutions in the market. And what we mean by data resilience, and I steal this analogy from Sean, and it's too bad because I'm talking first, so now he's going to have to think of another analogy. But if you think about data as like, in your business really as a rubber band, and in the face of compromise, that rubber band is stretched, right? And the compromise of the interruption, is represented by the stretch. The data is stretched. And what we want to make sure we do is when we fix that compromise, right, and we're into recovery, that when that rubber band comes back to normal, it doesn't break during the compromise, and when it comes back to normal after recovery, it's exactly as it was before the compromise, right? And so think of your data resilience as the ability for your business to not just be, surviving in the face of a compromise, but thriving. So that's what we mean by data resilience. And if you pop to the next slide, when we created this largest footprint that we possibly could, your businesses, right, are represented, organization sizes are represented on the left-hand vertical. And what you're looking for as it relates to the complexity of your environment, from management simplicity more to really broad functionality, is represented across the bottom. And our solutions sort of span all the way up through the small business, all the way to the large enterprise, right? And we're going to focus on, obviously, one that we feel like is critical to organizations of all sizes today, and that is our solution for cloud-to-cloud data protection recovery, and that's called SaaS backup, right? So if we pop to the next slide, to set the stage, as you're probably more than aware, SaaS solutions represent probably the IT industry's fastest growing categories, or one of them, right? So it's estimated that by 2029, the global SaaS market is expected to reach $720 billion, right? And that's a huge growth rate over the next 4 years. And more and more organizations are going to adopt SaaS solutions for a wide range of business tasks and initiatives. So we're way beyond the early SaaS focus of just sales applications, right, or engineering. And surprisingly enough, the enterprise category led global SaaS adoption last year. And that's probably due to understanding that SaaS platforms help gain a competitive advantage over competitors because of the data, right, that can be extracted from these platforms. Big data, as we know, especially in the upper mid-market enterprise, continues to be a huge trend. And we kind of look down this list of key trends and drivers. One of the things that really sort of, put a huge fast pace on the adoption of SaaS solutions is COVID, right? And the increase of the remote worker during that time, which forced the need for more SaaS applications to be adopted because of where they are, in a distant cloud. And that trend of the hybrid workforce continues really post-COVID. And so if we think about some of the more popular folks out there, obviously Microsoft still dominates, right? When we think of the biggest SaaS application out there, the behemoth, the elephant, with 90% market share right now. Sean actually was at a Google specific summit, and those folks claim 3 billion active users on Google Workspace, right? So if we go to the next slide, we've established obviously that SaaS is where it's at, right? And we're going to be adopting SaaS applications to gain efficiencies and competitive advantage. These solutions, right? Usually the vendor has us adopt what we call the shared responsibility model. And typically the SaaS provider has some key responsibilities when delivering SaaS applications. Those are represented in black on the left, the security of the system, maintaining its availability, the service delivery, etc. But on the right-hand side, those really equally critical things typically fall on the organization, right, the user. And probably most critical included is the data that is generated by those SaaS applications. The business and the user own user management and all of the errors that come with it. So you need to maintain a copy of that data. And SaaS providers are not at all shy in sharing that they have no obligation to return, restore data. We often assume that SaaS application providers take care of the data, but as you probably know, that is just simply not true. And this is directly from Microsoft, right? And their service availability and their terms and conditions, that we strive to keep the services up and running, but they call out that we absolutely recommend that you regularly back up your content and data that you store on the services or store using third-party apps and services, right? So pretty specific about that. So if you pop to the next slide. Yeah, so when you think about either on-prem or cloud, at some point, you're probably gonna have some data loss, right? And so what do you do then, right? In this case of the shared responsibility model, we have to enable dedicated protection and ease of recovery of the data. This prediction totally scares me. By 2025, at least one major software as a service vendor will be breached by hackers, leading to data loss and business disruption, costing you guys, their customers, more than $100 million. So that's why we're here today. And that's why we're going to talk specifically about a solution that we find really exciting. And if you go to the next slide, what we know is human error represents the largest occurrence of data disruption or compromise. And yes, they're often accidental, sometimes they're not, but human error represents one of the biggest concerns in the use of data compromise, specifically with SaaS applications. We must have vigilance on this, right? And so you have to have a thorough, dedicated backup plan, and it's critical to set the foundation of SaaS data protection and recovery with a technology vendor who understands how robust but also easy this protection and recovery should be, and understands that the adoption rate of dedicated SaaS protection requires a robust roadmap when it comes to what SaaS applications are going to be covered. So enter SaaS backup. I'm going to turn it over to Sean. He's going to take you through some of the differentiators and exciting solution that SaaS backup is.
Thank you so much, Janine. That's a great setup. And I'm okay with you taking my little metaphor. I've got the fun stuff now. We can get into the meat and potatoes of what we're talking about today. So we're looking at the SaaS backup. Our solution is a very, very unique type of solution. And I hope to be able to accentuate that over the next few slides and really show you really why it's important, not only important for you to back up and recover, be able to recover from all your SaaS applications, but also really the ease and use and really just a perfect fit into this market to be able to do that. This is a cloud-to-cloud application. So we are backing up the SaaS applications, and we're backing it up to another cloud. The beauty of that is that it doesn't encroach on your bandwidth. You don't have to be thinking about your local bandwidth at each of your sites where you're bringing it back down, because we're able to go back to cloud to cloud. And when you go to recover, you can go right back into the cloud piece in itself. Because it's cloud native, it's designed to be always available. And I'll double click into that a little bit more in a slide or two. We have unparalleled redundancy in this market for this. And actually, I am going to steal my own thunder here, if you don't mind, because what we're doing, we're actually backing up the data, right? And when we send it to the data center, we're actually writing 2 copies of that data at that data center, and then we're mirroring that data center to another data center, completely different location, right? So there are 4 copies of every backup, which is just terrific, because we want to make sure that it's always available and that you're able to recover when you need to. It is purpose-built, right? We know today, in today's world, I cannot go a day without hearing the R word, ransomware, right? I am weary on it today as much as I am probably hearing about COVID, but it is a part of our life now. So ransomware, it's there. It's something we need to be aware of. It's something we need to strategize against and hopefully protect, but also remediate when something happens. And this SaaS backup is not any different, right? It is purpose-built for security. It is immutable. I'll talk more about that in a few slides. We do encryption in transit and also encryption at rest, allowing for multi-factor authentication and a lot more. So it is very much purpose-built for today's modern networking and our backup and recovery. And then finally, we also, have a ease of use, a very cool and slick user interface, single pane of management, can give you multi-tenancy if you need that, but also gives you role-based access control so that if you have a larger team or someone you want to delegate some type of access to someone, you can do it without giving them the keys to the kingdom, right? So we're able to provide that management piece for you so you can very easily and quickly do what you need to do, because frankly, you have a whole lot of other projects that I'm sure that are absorbing your time. You don't want to have to spend an incredible amount just in this type of management piece. So when we are looking at the data protection piece for this SaaS backup solution, the beautiful thing, and Janine kind of called it out, M365, Microsoft 365, of course, right now is leading the charge there. Of course, we've got 3 billion users in the Google workspace workloads, right? So we've got those, and those certainly are, those two pieces are quite prevalent. And yes, we can back up both of those. And when we do get those, we're getting the whole enchilada. Like for instance, with Microsoft 365, we're getting OneDrive, we're getting all of SharePoint, we're getting Teams, we're getting of course the users mailboxes and everything that kind of goes in with that. So it allows you to get everything and protect everything. And the same type of thing with Google, right? So we're getting the Google Drive, and we're getting all of the mail. We're getting all of those pieces that kind of go around those, right? So it's the whole enchilada. But in addition to just Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace, we have the ability to back up other SaaS platforms. And those SaaS platforms, by the way, we're looking at adding additional ones in the near future. And so I'm just getting a little teaser on that. So for instance, Azure AD, we're probably the only SaaS backup vendor right now that is able to get an Azure AD. And we're actually improving that too. We're going to have another release of that, shortly, to be able to accentuate it and build on what we're able to do. Dynamics 365, which is the hosted Dynamics, is another area that we're able to get, because that's a SaaS application that people are able to do. And of course, we want to make sure that we're backing that up as a third party. And also, finally, we can back up Salesforce.com, right, and get all of the data options that complete there. And so when you look at all of this, it's not just your email that we're getting. It is really the lifeblood of what you have, which is your data, right? And it's the data that's contained certainly in your regular unstructured stuff, like your sheets or your Excel or your Word documents and all that good stuff. But also, moving further with that, we can also look at protecting your CRM through Salesforce, look at protecting the Dynamics pieces that kind of go with that. So with the SaaS backup offering that we have, I've mentioned some of this already, but the data availability, really comes at, first and foremost. The biggest piece there is in every single geographic region where we are, and I've got a map on this, on where we have data centers around the world. We actually have 2 data centers for every place that we are at, and those 2 data centers allow us keep those 4 copies of the data, which is really nice. We are not leveraging public cloud for this, right? So what it allows us to do is to give us to make sure that we are assured and we have everything in our control. So if in the event of something that's going sideways, we're able to have it in control and not be at the whim of, you know, I think it was, gosh, Janine, I think it was several Christmases ago, we sat down as a family to watch Netflix, and part of S3 had an outage on Christmas Eve, and we weren't able to watch that Christmas show because that's where that particular piece of Netflix was showing. So we want to make sure that we're doing that. We've got data sovereignty. We are fully compliant. We've got certifications. We are worldwide, so we understand about, you know, like in Europe, they've got the GDPR pieces. We're compliant across the board. We are cost effective, right? And so with this, it's one price per seat, you know, and in this particular format, what you would do is do your seats. We do like a kind of a year subscription for the number of seats that are there. It gives you unlimited storage, right? And archiving is included. For instance, common question that I get, like with Microsoft 365, they'll say, okay, I have a user that leaves, right? And we keep that open for a little while, that active user open for a little while, but then we remove it from being an active user, but we want to keep that mailbox. And so we create we turn it into a shared mailbox. Do you charge for that shared mailbox? And the quick answer is if Microsoft isn't charging you for it, we're not going to charge you for it. So the shared mailboxes, we're able to grab those archival pieces, which makes it really, really, really nice. And we scale, right? So this is a product that can be used for, you know, frankly, you know, 3 active users, you know, in an environment very smallest of the small companies, all the way up to tens of thousands of users. We've got it to a point where we're able to scale, we're able to manage it very easy. It is built to be simple, right? It is a friendly and actually intuitive user interface, right? And it allows us to be very efficient in how we need to manage it, because I don't know about any of you, and I've been in technology for now 25 years or so. Never have I ever said the words, boy, we have more people in our IT department than we need, right? It's always, hey, we've got a backload of X amount of days, weeks, or months on different projects that we need to do. So everyone is busy. We want to make sure that we have everything covered, but along with that, we don't want to spend more time on a specific type of administration thing than we need to, right? So we want to make sure that we have enough time to do everything. So this user interface allows you to very quickly, you know, configure it, and then when you need to pull something from it, it's intuitive, it's informative, it's quick. You're able to get it going as quickly as possible. And our recovery process is instant. And I've got a little demo I'll show you. I'm not so I can show you, you know, how a restore will happen. And what you'll do is you can go through and you can do some searches, which is great. We can get really kind of granular in some aspects, but then when we find the thing that we need, you have a lot of different ways of how you would end up recovering that, right? And I go ahead and choose recovery, it puts it in the queue, and it starts it almost immediately. And then finally, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, yes. Sean. I just have a really great question from one of our folks. Are you able to download backups directly from the ArcServe server as a capability, as we're kind of going through capabilities here?
So the backups themselves, I'm going to answer this 2 different ways because I'm not exactly quite sure where the question's coming from. The backups themselves is actually going to it is cloud to cloud. So it's going from the SaaS application cloud that you're like, let's say a Microsoft 365. It's going from that cloud, and it's going to be back up to our cloud, right?
Yeah.
So the data the backup data is not coming to the on-prem piece. That said, there are a variety of different ways to restore, and I'll make sure I cover this when I go to do the little demo, is I can say, hey, yeah, I want this piece, I want to send this back right into OneDrive, for instance, this document, but then I also could actually put it and share it on a publicly accessible secure link, so then they would be able to download it if they wanted to grab it that way. So there is some flexibility that kind of goes with that. All right, so where we left off is just the fifth one. It's always secure. We have built this in a blockchain technology, and that blockchain technology, in order for us to make it immutable. So when we have the data the backup data that's there, it's impervious to ransomware. We do have in transit, we do encrypt the data in transit. And then when it arrives at our data center, we are doing encryption at rest also, right, to be able to do that. The snapshots don't expire, right? So when we're taking backups, and it's actually taking backups every 12 hours. So we're getting 2 backups a day, and each one of those is a snapshot in time. And that snapshot in time, you could go back to any of those snapshots for several years. Now, I would say that keep in mind that this is a backup and recovery solution. This is not necessarily meant to be a email archiving solution. Email archiving actually checks a whole bunch of boxes, especially with compliance piece and legal aspects where you have to keep the data that's there. Now, while the snapshots don't expire, you should think of it as being able to go back and recover things, not necessarily fill in that checkbox for the email archiving. And then we also engage in regular penetration testing in our whole environment to make sure that we are keeping up with all of the hackers and the bad actors that happen to be out and to be doing different things that they need to be doing. So as we talk about security, one of the aspects too is questions that I get often from folks that say, hey, you know what, I've got a staff, and some of these items I want to make sure that I'm delegating to my junior technician. I've hired a couple people right out of college, but I don't want to necessarily give them the world so where we kind of limit things in order to make sure that they can mess things up. So this product most definitely has a role-based access control ability, and here's just kind of an eye chart a bit about what each one of these roles is able to do. And you've got, basically, we've got about 7 roles that are predefined, right? We've got master admin and backup admin, full support, etc., right? And then there is the ability that you can actually create, basically a custom for individual if they don't fit in one of those boxes, right? To be able to do that. So you could, for instance, have just like a limited support option. So your brand new tech that you've hired out of college, all they're able to do is do a restore, and they might be able to do a restore to folder or restore import. But you know what? They're not able to do any of the connectors, which actually manages the backups. They can't do anything, really else. So you're able to limit some of those pieces that happen to be there. So the role-based access control is really is huge. When I'm talking to IT departments and businesses across the North America in particular, that's one of the things that they kind of like, because they can tier the access to folks on their team, just like you would tier access to folks within a particular network organization that you happen to be there. Our presence, our global presence, and we're in all of these different data centers. Our data centers are located in all these different geos. So we're in the United States. Canada is actually relatively new to us. We able to expand there earlier this year. And with Canada, and I know with Canada, they're very, there is a lot of verticals in Canada that they're very sticky about, hey, this data cannot traverse the border, right? So that means everything actually would end up staying there. But then also you can see we're in the UK and Denmark, Germany, and Australia also. So we're expanding that footprint and looking at being able to do that. Across the top, actually, and there could be folks that are here that are interested in specific, some type of the certification that we have. And you can see some of those that we've listed that's there, and we've got the documentation. We can certainly get those to you. Now,
hey, Sean, real quick, on when you go back to RBAC, right? There's a question that wants to know, that's inquiring, is there MFA for all the roles? Is MFA available for all the roles that can be assigned?
well, MFA would be for actually logging into the instance, and that's where the multi-factor is gonna come in. So you're logging into the management piece, and then once they're in, then whatever their role allows them to do is what they're able to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, got it.
Okay, great, awesome. So when we look at some of our other competitors, and this is not, I'm not one. I mean, everybody has their product, and when we do that, we try to accentuate really what we do best. But some of the pieces that we have that we have found resonates really well with our customers. And just so how we kind of back up with a couple different vendors, we look at the Veeam, for instance, and I'm not going to go through all of these, but like that RBAC that we just talked about, that's something that we have an advantage over. A broad Microsoft 365 coverage, and that's including, that's that whole enchilada that I keep talking about, of being able to back up everything, including private channels. Azure AD, I believe we're the only one right now that has a solution for that, and so forth, and we're able to do that. And then when we look at the competitive differentiators, though, as we look at it, probably the top two, I think, are what I would say resonate the most with me. It's secure by design, and so when this product was being designed and then coded, right, we're really thinking we're in a whole different world than we were, I mean, even 5 years ago. But if you think about, in the 90s and stuff, and some of the things that we're able to do, but it's important that we have immutability now. It is very important that everything that we're thinking about encryption all the way through, including the transport, including when the data is just sitting on the hard disk, right? Making sure that everything is encrypted, right? So we've got that secure by design is really important. And then the delete protect, so this is a nice feature, because what it does is we've got a 30-day retention in the event that something bad happens. Now, something bad happens isn't necessarily always ransomware. I know ransomware attacks, they're out there, they're happening all the time, but our analysts keep telling us that actually the largest cause of data loss today is still user error. It's the whoops type of thing. So if in the event that somebody, and you've taken time and you've got this more advanced settings on the connectors, which is connector is what we use in order to back up the product, and then all of a sudden somebody inadvertently deletes that connector, we have it for 30 days. It can be restored. It can be restored very easy. That data sovereignty and redundancy, this is our the private data centers, so we've got that. And then the redundancy, again, and I can't harp on this enough, is those 4 copies. So we're writing 2 copies of the backup at the data center, then we're mirroring it to another data center so that we have that. And then it's cost effective. We've got broad coverage within the SaaS backups, right? Or within SaaS applications. So it is the best in class for Microsoft 365 and other applications. Google Workspace, very, in some of the you know, I don't know if you're in the SLED arena, you know, a lot of them have adopted Google. We're widespread there, but we're able to back up everything, all your sheets, of course, all your mail and all of your shared Google Drives and those pieces. We've got really good extensive coverage, right? So we're able to get everything. And then the ability to search and do accurate restores is really good. And the takeaway for this particular bullet point that we have is that, again, not only is it intuitive, but we understand your time is precious, and we want to make sure that we're trying to make a task to go as efficiently as possible. And if it goes efficiently as possible, then it will dramatically reduce your time that it takes in order to do that. And then again, our cloud infrastructure, this is secure and dedicated to this particular platform and this program. And our independence actually is something that we tout about this, you know, very, very, very well and very closely. So I think it's time right now. I'm going to take you know, 10 or so minutes or so, and I'm going to fire up a demo here. And what I need to do is bring up. So this is the login piece, right, that we have. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get logged in to this program. So the dashboard is really giving you just kind of an overview of everything that's happening. You see right here at the top, this is, you know, Azure AD. We are healthy for that. So I'm backing up that. Within it, it's telling me, hey, you're backing up 14 users and 15 groups and everything that happened to go with that. And then over in the right-hand side, we see the backup job specifics. And actually, I just added this about a week ago. So we're actually just a few days ago, not a week. It feels like it's been a week, but but it's actually been a few days ago. So we've had 7 jobs that have come through. MasseyFamily.us, that actually is my own domain here. In this particular, of course, we've got a healthy outlook that we've done, and then you can see my next backup's going to be taken in the next couple hours. It's scheduled, and everything seems to be going pretty well. So the connectors is really what is interfacing back and forth through from the SaaS backup program to the SaaS platform that you're backing up. So when we go ahead and if I drill into the M365 connector here, we are getting, you know, I'm backing up the groups and teams. I'm backing up SharePoint, and it's also good to note that when we're backing up things like this, like SharePoint, we're getting it really at the database level. You know, there are products that are out there that actually back it up from the user perspective, right? Which is fine if you're backing up a user and everything that they touch within the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. But, you know, for instance, if Janine, you know, comes in and she creates a whole bunch of SharePoint resources, and people are interacting with those resources, and of course we're backing it up, and we're backing up because we're backing up Janine's user and everything comes around it. You know, if Janine leaves the company and then I stop backing up those resources, it might not be backing up those resources because it was initially owned by Janine, right? So that's kind of the danger there. But we're better than that. What we're able to do is we're able to get to actually the database level. So regardless of who was the initial creator of a particular resource, for instance, on Teams, we're going to be able to back everything up, and more importantly, we're going to be able to restore it. And then on the users, of course, the users that we have, as you see all the different users that I have here, and I'm just going to kind of drill into my user. We can certainly back up everything from, of course, all the Exchange piece, which is going to be the contacts, the calendar, and the email, and then, of course, OneDrive to be able to do that. So when we go to look at, for instance, a restore, and the nice thing that we're looking at, I've got a deleted items view piece here. I can like drill in to the specific restore, and then when I see something that is all of a sudden grayed out, that has been, I've got a backup for that, but that has been deleted at some point in time. So I say, oh no, you know what I need to do? I want to restore that. So I can go ahead and I can select that, and then by the way, this is something that I could download if I wanted to. So if I clicked on the download, it would immediately download it to my, and then I could email it to them. Or in this case, what I can do is I can click on the restore function, and what it's going to do, I can restore from a particular snapshot, or I can do the most recent file version. I'll do the recent file version and click on restore. And now what it's done is it's now, if I go over to the job monitor, we'll be able to say, yeah, you know what, that restore process, it's already in process as you're going to.
So a couple of quick questions while you're popping around, some good questions. As it relates to 365, do connectors need to be set up individually per each area?
No. So what you're looking at, it would be, for the Microsoft 365 instance, we would need a global admin account, that would be able to roll through that. So let me go to my connectors piece right away, and then that global admin piece would then allow me to, it would be able to access all of the data that needs to, all of the different users, where their data's at, the mail and everything else like that. So I wouldn't have to do one for every single, I don't know if maybe I misunderstood the question a little bit, but I think I probably answered it. And if I didn't answer it, ping us back, and then we can zero that in.
Yeah. Yeah. Second question: what's the difference between delete product versus a longer retention window? You might have seen that on the demo, but maybe I can ask for some more.
Yeah. So deletion. Now, when I did the deletion view, what it was doing is it was showing me what within this interface, it was showing me stuff that does not necessarily, that it knows that does not exist anymore in my Microsoft 365 instance. So what I just restored, that file, that Word file, that Word document was deleted at some time in the past. And when I said show deleted item view, the reason why it showed that it was grayed out is that it knew it had backed it up once, and then when it went to go, check for changes, it realized that file was completely gone. And so that's why when I went to deleted items view, it was just kind of grayed out. And that's really just there to another way to assist you. Also, by the way, you can do searching, you can look for keywords, you can look for, in timelines and things like that, to be able to do that. Now, retention is a different animal. So retention in our product right now, we've got it set up by default. It's a year retention for the data that we certainly are backing up. There is a capability, there is an ability. We do have a process to go longer than that if you do need longer retention. And for that, for instance, like here within the Microsoft 365 connector here, if I were to go into the Exchange piece and I've got, I click on the advanced, I would be able to, this is where I'm doing all the archive piece too. I was just in here recently, and there is a spot in here somewhere that actually does allow me to set retention. Oh, here it is. So set up a custom retention. So I've run into businesses where they have a organizational policy that says we don't want to keep more than 3 months of data. Once it's been deleted, our retention policy is and that goes for backups, or that goes for everything. And part of that could be like a litigation piece. So they don't want any type of discovery to go back, more than that. So you could actually go through and you could say, yeah, you know what, I want to limit the retention period to, I'm going to limit the retention period to 3 months. And and then that 3 months. So then after we have the backup, what it will do is start dropping off those backups beyond that. So that way it would be able to do that. Now I'm not going to do that there because actually if I were to click update right there, it would actually then drop off everything beyond 3 months that I've been backing up this particular instance on. But you have that ability between the, that's a deletion and the retention piece that happens to be there. Any other questions right now before I kind of move on, Janine?
No, you're doing great. I'm rapidly typing the ones I know the answers to, and then just having more of an interactive discussion as I see them, or the ones I can't. So great job.
So I'm gonna, I know people are probably also interested about pricing, and really, like when it comes down to Microsoft 365, here is the general rule that I generally, generally, it's the Office of Redundancy Department. Sorry about that, folks. The general rule that I say to folks is, if you want to know, how many mailboxes that you're doing, I'm not mailboxes, for the backup, your active users for Microsoft is what you would be charged. That's the number of users that you're able to be charged for our product, right? So when we're looking at costing, that's really kind of that should be the baseline of being able to do that. It is possible that if, let's say, you have your business doesn't use SharePoint at all, and you want, maybe you have 60 active users, but you really only want to back up 40 of those. Yes, we can do that, and you can go through and configure, and you can actually go through and specifically go through and choose the type of the users that you want to go through and choose the users that you want to back up, right, to be able to do that. And then you say, and if you had 40 that are there, then we're only going to charge you for the 40. Where we get kind of in trouble a little bit is that folks might do the 40, but then they do need to back up SharePoint, and SharePoint's going to see, hey, but you've got 60 people that are accessing it. So then that's going to end up, that 60 active users is going to be there. I hope that I didn't confuse anybody on there, but the general rule is whatever your active users is, that's the easiest. And then if you do all users, then we're only going to be billing based on the active users happens to be. And in my Microsoft instance here, I have 5 active users, but I probably have like 12 or 14 different accounts that are going, but it's only active users that we're backing up. Public links. So right now I don't have any public links, but if I were to I could restore something to a public link, and then I can provide that public link out to I would get a URL, and I could send that out to a user and say, all right, here's your data, and then they can download it, and then they can do whatever they want to be able to do with that. Probably if I went over to my job monitor now, you'll see here's that item restored that I did. It was successful. So we, it didn't take long once it started. It started, and within a minute, it had gone ahead and it had restored that particular file. It wasn't a very large file at all, that we're able to do that. And so, if I were to go back into my OneDrive at this point in time, we're able to do that. But once again, I kind of touted it as a really kind of a differentiator. We've got this one pane of glass that we're able to be working on. The dashboard, the dashboard to give you a quick overview. And then, on the left-hand side, we have the navigational pane that we're able to go with wherever you want to do. If we're looking at users, and I was going to create Janine as a user, I could go ahead and create her name, and then give her that specific role here, right, as we're going to do what we need to do, right? And then the email, and then I could actually not even set a password for her. I could send her an activation email, so that way then she would get set up the way that she needs to. And then even creating a user, you can assign an expiration date to that. So that user then is only going to be this. This is I'm creating it for a temporary thing because I'm going out of town and I've got somebody else watching it. I can give them that user for a particular limited amount of time to be able to go through that. And then also
got a quick question for you as you're
yep.
Can you choose to back up specific M365 license type but exclude others? Like, for instance, ignore student licenses but get everything else?
Yes. So, you know, that's all done through the connectors. And so when we look at the connector piece, right, we can, if I go in and configure the connectors, I'm able to, I would be able to go through and look at, and as I'm talking, something happened with my brain. I disconnected it. Sorry about that. So if I go in, I can go to configure it. Here's what we're able to do. I'm able to go through and actually I can back up based on groups if I want to. I could do it, you know, specific users. Like here, it's all users, but we can choose not to. But yes, you can exclude other things if you need to do that. The tricky part though is, and this is what I was saying earlier, is that if folks are using SharePoint, everyone has access to SharePoint, so that's where it would look at all the active users that would end up getting charged. But we have some specific ways of being able to get around that. So yes, we should be able to do that. And one nice thing is we'll do what we call a POC for you, where we can get you all set up into a proof of concept, and you can run this for 30 days, right? And you can get your hands on it. You can see how it operates and be able to do that. And I've people on my team, my principal consultant for pre-sales engineers, right? My pre-sales engineers be happy to take you through it, help you get set up, and get it configured the way you would want it to be configured. Well, excellent. Well, Janine, I think now what we should do is I'm going to, you know, go to the next slide, and I think maybe can you talk to them about our promotion?
Yes. Oh my gosh, guys, we have a really great promotion going on for this super robust solution. You have the ability to save money while you're protecting all the critical cloud application data that we talked about. We have a 3-year SKU. And if you purchase that SKU, you'll only pay for 2, right? So it's a really great way to save money while protecting these critical applications. And if you either can contact us directly, or if you have an authorized ArcServe reseller in your area, they can help you. That does apply to a minimum purchase of 250 users, right? So you can just simply contact us and ask us to understand pricing for that, or contact your ArcServe realtor. Sean, between you and me, you can tell we've had a pretty long week so far. So hopefully that was a great way to show you, again, the robustness of the solution. We're so excited to be bringing it to market. I'm going to end the recording and go into the prizes. I have answered tons of questions throughout, as far as written, as well as throwing them to Sean. So just bear with me for a second. I'm going to just end the recording and say, again, thank you to everyone for joining us. And please consider reaching out to us directly or your reseller to find out more.